Chair Rogers, can you do an audio and video check for me?
All right, how's that?
Thank you very much. And Councilmember Okrepke, can you also do an audio and video check for me?
Check 1, 2, 3.
Thank you very much. Director Hartman, can you do an audio and video check for me?
Good morning.
Hi, thank you.
All right, with that, I do recognize the quorum of the board. Let's go ahead and call to order. Can we do a roll call vote, please?
Let the record reflect that all members are present.
Excellent. Morning, Eddie. Morning,
Good morning,
Jeff.
sir. How are you? And
I'm doing well. Let's start with public comments for non-agenda items. If you have a comment on something that falls within the jurisdiction of our Economic Development Subcommittee, but it isn't on today's agenda, go ahead and hit the raise hand feature on your Zoom. Just confirming that I do not see any hands. So we'll move on to our new business for the day. That's item 3.1, our Enhanced Infrastructure Finance District. Raisa, take it away.
Hi there. Okay, so I think we're going to be promoting a number of other people on our team while I'm speaking, but I'll get us started. So firstly, welcome to this latest iteration of, oops, I'm sorry, my mouse stopped working and I need to move something. Okay. So welcome to this latest iteration of the Economic Development Subcommittee. We've had this subcommittee for as long as I've been with the city, and I've been with the city about 18 years, but it has changed some. So I just want to give a quick overview before I start, because 2 of the 3 of you are new to the committee. And that is, first, I want to tell you what our general purpose is, and at a future meeting date, we can certainly revisit this. But it was recently, we took a hiatus of the subcommittee just before or during COVID, and then started up just, I think in 2022 again. But the general purpose of the Economic Development Subcommittee is to provide preliminary guidance to staff on complex issues related to council goals, with the objective of creating equitable and inclusive economic opportunity and growth through policies and programs that empower economic stability, encourage job development and retention, and the creation of great places. And so that leads in a little bit to what we're talking about, which is EIFDs. And Lonnie, if you could bring up the slides, we can get started on those.
Give me 1 second to pull those up.
Okay. Well, so while she's pulling those up, there's a slide that introduces you to our consultant, DTA. And I forgot to tell you, Lenny, when you get there, our consultant's name is Lenny Zerati. She should be on the call as well and should be promoted. So anyway, so our consultant firm, DTA, is led by David Tausig, who's the president and CEO. He can't be here today, but or he at least can't be on until at least 10 o'clock. But in his stead, we have DTA's vice president, Lenny Zerati, and she has been with the company about a year, but before that, she was the special districts manager for the county of Riverside, where she led them through a number of EIFD formations. So we feel lucky to have her. And then rounding out the DTA team is Courtney Tseng, who is one of their project managers. And just by way of background for DTA, they have or are in the process of forming at least 8 districts, not including Santa Rosa. So they have quite a bit of experience behind them. And Lonnie, if you have a hard time pulling up your slides, I can pull up mine if that's easier.
I just got them.
Okay,
Apologies. It took me a
That's
minute to
okay.
find them.
I'm going to keep talking because the other folks on our team who are on, and you'll probably see them promoted here. We have, I think, at least one, if not both, of our assistant city managers, Daryl Dunstan and Jason Nutt. Claire Hartman is on. We also have our finance CFO, Alan, and then two of our additional consultants that the city brought on separate from DTA. And that's Robert Gamble, who's our finance consultant, and Chris Lynch, who's our legal consultant. Both of them have also worked on a ton of EIFDs, and I believe Chris Lynch was one of the authors of the bill that created it in the first place. And I'm going to keep talking, and we'll just whip through these slides because I'm going to go high level. You can go to the next slide. Let's go down to the next one as well. Yeah, okay, let's start here. So I'm going to be pretty high level with these slides because I think you guys generally know them, and I want to make sure that we have enough time to get to the Q&As at the end of it. So firstly, an EIFD, or Enhanced Infrastructure Finance District, is a financing tool that uses tax increment revenues. So very specifically, and to be super clear, a tax increment revenue, the tax increment revenues in an EIFD are the same ad valorem property taxes that are already being paid by the property owner. So it's important to know that there are no new taxes and no additional property taxes are imposed. So that's the crux of what this is, and revenue in EIFDs are generated by community growth, for example, through new development or improvements to the district. Next slide. Sorry. Okay. So EIFDs were created sort of as a replacement to the old redevelopment districts. They're unlike redevelopment districts. There are no requirements for blight finding. So in essence, the threshold for establishing a new IFD or a new district in this way are not the same. And in theory, if we wanted to, any area within the city could be included in the AFD. But that said, we are, most interested in areas with a lot of opportunity. And, one of the things that adds a lot of value to an EIFD is for the county to participate. So in order to get that, we also want to have, we want to be able to show the value of the district also benefits the county so that they pay into the district as well. Next slide. So the main things you need to know for now regarding forming a district is that the council's first action is going to be to adopt a resolution of intention. And this resolution of intention includes the district boundaries and a list of projects or improvements to be constructed, but also the fiscal impact of what we're proposing. At this same meeting, which I forgot to look when it is, but I believe it's in April, the council will also need to adopt a resolution establishing the Public Finance Authority. And the Public Finance Authority is a 5-member board that consists of 2 council members, 1 supervisor, and 2 members of the general public. The PFA, or the Public Finance Authority, can be larger if you want it to, but this is standard. What the 5 is the standard size that we've been seeing across the board, and it's going to be the most manageable. So it's the Public Finance Authority, or the PFA, that will then direct the preparation of the infrastructure finance plan and lead it through the public hearings. So again, sort of in comparison to redevelopment districts of old, it's not, if I recall, not too dissimilar to what redevelopment agencies did. So it's after that public hearing and any fine tuning of the plan as a result of those public hearings that the Board of Supervisors and the council will then each adopt this a resolution approving this infrastructure finance plan. Next slide. Okay, so there is not a vote that's required to pass the IFP. But what's most important to note is, well, actually, if there's a certain threshold, as the first bullet point says, if there's a certain threshold of protest, then a vote would be needed to pursue the formation of the district. But the important notes or dates for council to remember is that we do need to, if we want to have the base year for tax generation established for the fiscal year 23-24, so the fiscal year coming up, the deadlines we have to make is to approve the resolution of intention by June 30th, and then to make sure that we file the statement of boundary change to the State Board of Equalization by December 1st. So those are hard deadlines in order for us to meet all the public hearings and all the other things that go into creating the district. So even though the base year for the tax increment generation will be fiscal year 23-24, as we understand it in our jurisdiction, as it has been seen in all the others that have DTA has worked with, the assessments are not actually filed by the county until January. For us, this would be January 2024. So any of the projects within 2023 that were built and eligible after they were filed for 2022 would be eligible to would be participating in the pay for the tax increment. Hopefully that makes sense. We can talk about that in a minute. Okay, so next slide. So eventually, when enough revenue has been generated, bonds can be issued. This generally takes about, at least 5 years to get to that point. But bond generation is an option for EFDs. Next slide. All right, so here's where we start getting into projects, and then we're going to talk about maps. So this is a general list of project improvements that could be that are eligible for consideration in the infrastructure finance plan. The thing about projects that you need to know is that the money can be spent on any public improvements that provide community benefit, but they have to have a useful life of 15 years or more. So at this point, some of the bigger projects that we've been talking about, and this includes with members of the public advisory group, many of whom are on the call and will be weighing in on this. So we haven't landed on anything, but this is where we wanted to spend some of the discussion. But a transit mall, we know we need to address issues with their transit mall. It's too small. I think other improvements need to be made to it. We have the possibility of pursuing the MTC wayfinding that our transit department has been working on. Back in 2010, we actually created a street furniture pallet program, and it included things like bollards and street improvements. So we have an entire plan that has been codified that we've never entirely implemented. We could pull some projects from that. We also have an interest in both, the city and the public advisory group has talked about the Mendocino corridor, as well as the Santa Rosa Avenue corridor that would fall within the district. Claire's on here, and she can talk a little bit about, the corridor plans that we have or that we're interested in pursuing. There are additional improvements to Courthouse Square that could be eligible and that have been raised as an interest. 4th Street corridor, again, that was one of the, both in Railway Square and Courthouse Square, that was one of the main corridors that was included in the street furniture pallet program that addressed streetscape and pedestrian, walkability, bikeability. The other thing that came up are some of our corridor areas like JG Way, Comstock Mall, and then also better movability between Railway Square, Courthouse Square sides, 3rd to like 7th or 10th Street. B Street has some major opportunities as well. Next slide. Okay, so here's where we start getting into maps and boundaries. So this is the downtown station area specific plan map, and this is the area that we had originally considered when we're looking at a broad scope of what we thought would be a tenable boundary map for an EIFD. Next slide. We also looked at what is the qualified opportunity zone map. So this is the one that was filed with the federal government, where we have a number of large projects that were taking advantage of the opportunity zone funds. So we overlaid that. And so again, I think with this, it just shows that we're doubling down on where we think the boundaries are, and where we think the opportunities are. Next slide. But this is the map that we're landing on. So what this did is we felt that the downtown station area specific plan, which is what you see in the colorful outline on here, is a little too large. So we wanted to pull the map in a little bit in order to best capture where we feel the opportunities are and the best increments are. We have, this is not entirely the same, but just as a point of reference, we've actually established 2 community benefit districts. And in those districts, similar to those districts, we wanted to take out the predominantly single family housing areas. So this map is consistent with some of the other districts that we've developed. And again, it aligns with a number of our policies that we've put together to sort of condense the EIFD district to commercial, industrial, light industrial, and public and institutional lands. Looking at, we've got it marked up, looking at the section that's marked A, which is in Wally Gardens, like that 3rd Street corridor, Olive Park. There are some light industrial areas in that area that we're not including, but and Wally Gardens is mostly multifamily or single family residential, and we feel like it just took us a little bit further out to the core than we wanted to deal with. But the section that's labeled B, that's at the bottom, which is the Roberts Road area, we would like to hold that for consideration for the potential of a Roseland area EIFD. So that's why those areas at the bottom left of the map are not included. And then going up to the area that's marked E, the West End, that is almost entirely residential. And so like with sections D and then the Cherry Street, which is C, we wanted to exclude the predominantly residential areas. The only exception to that is at the bottom when you're looking at Sebastopol Avenue, the Sofa District area, Juilliard. Those areas, it would be, we felt a little bit too difficult for us to sort of carve out around the opportunity sites that are the commercial areas on both A Street and Santa Rosa Avenue. And then the other exception that is the multifamily residential that you see that's close to the tip off of Brookwood and Sonoma. We felt that we could, if we wanted to, we could probably do some fine carving there, but we did identify opportunity sites in that area as well. Next slide. That's it. So we can go back to, we can either take the slides down or keep the map slide up for discussion. But that is your high overview of the EIFD.
All right, I really appreciate it, Raisa. I'll look to my 2 council member colleagues to see if anybody has questions to start.
Yeah, I have one quick question.
Go ahead, jump on in.
Do we have a clear map of what the proposed EIFD is? Because that last map you showed and then saying the carbon out here and there is not only just slightly confusing to me, but it's going to be very confusing for people that aren't.
Yeah, we will. We need to create one for GIS. That was our down and dirty map, but we can absolutely. We'll get something clear, and it'll be produced by a GIS team. Was that your question?
All right, Eddie.
Thank you, sir. Chair. You spoke of the difference of excluding Roberts Lane, and would we have a proposed time of when we're actually come up with a map for the Roseland area? Because it's one thing that did stick out for me is how the map kept getting smaller and smaller, leaving Roberts Lane specifically out of the picture.
Yeah, I mean, the Roberts Road area, again, it being at the base of Sebastopol, we felt that when we get to the Roseland area, EIFD, if that is something that council wishes to pursue, that it would be better to, there's a lot of opportunity there that has the potential to move a little bit more faster. So it would add the value to Roseland. We don't at this time have a timeline for it, but it doesn't need to be prolonged. This is our first time going through it. We thought that it would be best to pursue something that we knew that we had 2 community benefit districts, so we have good buy-in from this district and the political will to move forward on this one. So we thought we would try our first district with the easier lift.
And if I may ask a question, a little bit more of a higher level, and because of your experience in the area of Sebastopol Road from the annexation period, the annexation of, or actually the rezoning of Roberts Lane, and I'm sorry it's Roberts Road, but forever it's known as Roberts Lane to me. Roberts Lane being incorporated into the railroad area or in the zoning, how has that hindered Roberts? I want to try to switch here. Roberts Road from its redevelopment goals, especially with the change in the population density of the zoning differences.
Yeah, let me have Claire speak to that.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Yeah, Roberts Road area is a collection of parcels. Yeah, and one of the things that we tried to accomplish with the most recent downtown station area specific plan was to really build in opportunity as well as flexibility. So there's a balance there. One of the things we're aware of is the properties have questioned if we have reached too high for the opportunity, like we have too high of a floor area ratio requirement. So that's something we'll work with the property owners on. There's different opportunities to make special findings if they can't reach that high, or if need be, we can revisit the land use designation for it. But yeah, we have not seen a proposal yet that has gotten to the point of an entitlement review. So that is an area of concern for us, because our intent was to stimulate investment on those sites. And so we are still interested in doing that in partnership with those owners.
Absolutely. And Claire, again, thank you for the clarification. You know, it's one of the things that I'm definitely looking to educate myself on the zoning districts and the limitations and opportunity that each one of them do create. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
So I've got a couple questions, Raisa. So first, you mentioned that a protest vote, 50% of the folks in the district, is that by land value or is that by parcel? You're on mute.
Lenny is on. Let me see if she can answer that.
Yeah, so I remember there was a distinction when we did the improvement districts. I can't remember which direction it went.
It's on a per parcel.
Per parcel?
Yes.
And does city-owned land, will we be included as a potential vote per parcel that we own?
This is Chris Lynch from Jones Hall. Maybe I can answer the question. The protest is based on landowners and residents that are over 18. And the city-owned parcels would be included if the landowner were to include, if the city were to own all of the land to be included with the EIFD. Otherwise, the city's land is not counted.
I want to see if we can promote Lenny to a panelist so you can meet here. But Lenny, just FYI, it seems like you'll be kicked off for a second, but you'll be brought back on, so don't freak. Okay, so Lenny's coming back on. Sorry, just want to get that.
Yeah, I'm specifically also wondering, just to kind of lay it out, Chris and Lenny, when you get on, we have the smart station that's in there. Will the smart board have to make a decision about whether or not to join any potential protest vote? I'm just trying to make sure we have all of our ducks in a row before we leave the meeting.
Okay, well, so just to make sure it's clear, the third public hearing is where there's a protest vote. It determines whether there's a majority protest, and that is based on a combined number of landowners and residents in the area who are at least 18 years of age. And then landowners are defined in the statute to only include public agencies if they own all of the land within the IFD. So any public agency who owns land in the CIFD will not be considered a landowner for purposes of that protest.
Okay, cool. That's great to know. And then, Raisa, can you walk through, you did it at a very high level, but can you walk through what the county's role in this process is?
Yes, but Lenny was going to add to something.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Lenny.
Lenny, you're on mute. Yeah.
I also just wanted to mention that the tax increment that would be to the public properties and or institutional properties, we're not collecting any revenue because they're taxed. Obviously, they
Right.
don't have a tax. So just wanted that to be clear.
Yep, appreciate that.
Okay, and then the county's role, so Chris will probably be able to help me with this as well, but really we want the county to participate because that's where they've got the bulk of the property tax revenue, right? So their ability to, or their willingness to participate at whatever level they want to, it would be critical to us. If they don't participate, then there's a question as to whether or not creating a district would be of value to us. Lenny, you can hop in here too for me, but really what the county does, the first action the county will do that's in public is to review and approve the infrastructure finance plan. We will have to ask at least one of their board of supervisors to participate on the Public Finance Authority. So they'll be able to weigh in on the process all the way through, but the first action of the full board is the resolution that approves the infrastructure finance plan. It doesn't mean to say that there's not going to be a lot of work done by the city manager's office and from elected to elected on preparing the county to get to that place. So that's the other place with that the county's involved. Did I miss anything, Lenny?
No, very well said.
Okay.
And Raisa, I know that we started working on this, I think back in 2018. Can you just speak a little bit to the level of outreach or integration that we've done with not just the property owners in the district, but also our county partners?
Sure. Yeah, you'll probably hear this today from some of the members who participated in the public advisory group. And it's really very active members from both the community benefit districts in Railroad Square and Courthouse Square. So they're one of the driving forces of this. They're incredibly active and incredibly informed. When it comes to the county, we actually started talking about this in earnest when it was very new, when EIFDs or any tax increment financing was very new. Back in 2017 or actually 2018 as a result of the fire. So it was part and parcel to the development of the Renewal Enterprise District. In our discussions with them, it was part of our discussions when we would make our trips up to the state to talk about fire recovery. And the EIFD, yes, we've always looked at both Roseland and downtown as the first districts, and specifically downtown versus any other area. Because at the time, we really wanted to promote a broader cross-section of housing opportunities and options within our city. And we felt that that's where we could get the most bang for our buck. And at that time, as you recall, in the creation of the Renewal Enterprise District, we were in conversations like weekly with the county and including a number of council members and supervisors. So the discussions were early and somewhat frequent, but the most formal were done in 2019 and 2020, early 2020, when myself, Michelle Whitman, and I think at the time David Ewan met with every supervisor as well as the county assessor to discuss participation. All of them were interested, some more than others. And I would say at that time, the ones that had perhaps the most caution were Supervisor Hopkins and Supervisor Rabbit. And they said they were interested, they weren't sure at what level, and were discussing a slightly lower level of participation than the other three supervisors. In addition, former County Administrator Cheryl, I've already forgotten her last name, former county, yeah. So she also was part of the conversations, but it was more city manager to city manager. I understand at this point that the new county administrator is less than familiar with it. Was not updated by Cheryl on it specifically, and nor were the other county administration staff.
Okay, I appreciate that. Let's go ahead and go to, if there are no other questions from my colleagues. All right, let's go ahead and go to public comment. If you're interested in providing comment, go ahead and hit the raise hand feature on your Zoom. I think it's also *9 if you're on phone.
Chair Rogers, I don't see any hands raised, and there was also no email or voicemail received. Oh, no, it looks like we got one.
I figured we'd have at least one.
Michelle Whitman, I sent you a prompt to unmute yourself. Can you please state your name for the record?
Michelle Whitman with the Renewal Enterprise District and Red Housing Fund. Thank you, Raisa, for outlining the Renewal and Enterprise District's participation in this effort. This is something we're excited about and look forward to helping the city build support, particularly with the county administrator and the county supervisors. I agree with Raisa that it's going to take some elected to elected relationship building, as well as between the city manager, assistant city manager, and the new county administrator. I have a lunch planned with the new county administrator on March 4th, and I can promise you this will be a topic of conversation. Thank you.
All right, I don't see any other hands, so I'll go ahead and bring it back to the board. Raisa, just to make sure we're getting everything that we need out of this meeting for everything to move forward smoothly, what type of direction would be helpful or comments would be helpful from council members? After you unmute.
I know, rookie. For us, it's really a matter of solidifying the map. Staff feels very comfortable with the map. I know Councilmember Krepke couldn't really see it adequately. We could pull it up, but we're interested in releasing DTA to go full bore on the IFP, and the map is needed for that. And then the other thing is, if there are projects that you're interested in within the district, if we could discuss that as well.
Okay. So Krepke, do you want to start?
Yeah, like I said, I think I can follow the map, and I don't want to hold this up by saying come back with a clearer map, because that's just going to be unnecessary. So yeah, I'm good with the map. In terms of projects, I don't have anything specific that I'm partial to or jump to the front of me. But other than that, yeah, I'm good to move forward.
Eddie?
Thank you, sir. Same for me. I guess not only the project would be the Mendocino corridor. I would definitely like to see that happen from Courthouse Square to College Avenue. It's something that excited me when I first seen it, And I would like to see that move forward, but definitely support. I understand that the reality is downtown Santa Rosa is the heart. It is the lifebeat of every other economic sector of our city. So if downtown Santa Rosa does well, I know that all other shopping centers and all other corridors do just as good. Thank you.
All right, and I'm supportive as well, have been since 2018, and I really appreciate all of the work folks are doing to get this across the finish line to make sure we get the resolution of intention and the Public Finance Authority established in the time that we need to. And I know Raisa and Darielle, I know you guys are working hard with the mayor and the city manager to get everything scheduled appropriately so that we'll hit those deadlines. Outside of that, what I heard was continue to have conversations with members of the Board of Supervisors. I have had a conversation with the chair about this to try to make sure that they're synced up as well to hit the timelines that we need. And I know other council members, if you could put in phone calls as well, that would be great.
Lenny, was there anything else you needed to get started on the IFP then?
No, I think I sent you that email. We'd like to get the assessor parcel number so we can do a cross check. And then just for the council members, we will be putting together the boundary map, which will go together with the resolution of intention. So it will be much clearer by the time we get to that point, just for your information.
All right, thank you. And then just one more thing, I want to thank everybody who's been participating, the Railroad Square Association, the DAO, the RED. This really has been a number of community groups that have been pushing this forward. And so thank you for sticking with it. And it looks like we're on a good plan to get this across the finish line.
Well, that was very easy. Thank you very much. And you'll be hearing from us. And we'll see, I think at this point, we'll have our next meeting is in March. So we'll go back on our same every other month schedule, unless we need special meetings otherwise.
Yeah, and please let us know if we need a special meeting to try to push anything and get things to move a little bit faster. I know everybody's really anxious to make sure we don't miss any of those deadlines and get this established.
You know, I can tell you that I think our internal team is, we're together, we're pushing it, and I think we'll be fine.
Excellent. All right, with that, we're going to go ahead and adjourn. I'll see you guys later today at the council meeting.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.